Cooper got open and caught it. Touchdown, Indiana.
Going up the middle is Omar Cooper, and he'll walk into the end zone.
Complete at the 47. Surratt with no one to beat. Hello and welcome to Crimson Kickoff live from the Bo McMillan Suite here at Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium. I'm Joe Cronin, Graham Nash, Thomas Crow, the usual crew, our lovely fellows behind the scenes as well, making everything happen behind the scenes. We're talking all things Indiana football. Those Hoosiers, they're 10-0. They just continue to make history. It's what Curt Cignetti and these troops tend to do. 10-0 in back-to-back seasons, the first time ever in program history. And also, Indiana is coming off a win in a place they've never won before. They went out to Happy Valley, beat Penn State 27-24 in a thriller. Just an awesome game, awesome atmosphere. Thomas, the moment of that 2-minute drill with Fernando Mendoza, the Omar Cooper catch, the 100,000 plus, that was an electric atmosphere, and the Hoosiers come away with the win. They're 10-0 back-to-back years.
Yeah, the entire game was electric. That was a stadium. That was the largest stadium I had ever been in. The pop for the interception, Fernando's interception, was unreal. One of the loudest things I think I've ever heard. And then Indiana going on that 2-minute drive. There was a point in that game, guys, 7.1%. That was Indiana's chances of winning that game, according to ESPN at one point. Indiana goes down, 2-minute drill. Omar Cooper defies gravity, and the Hoosiers pulled out.
It's unbelievable. We're going to talk about it, but this team just keeps finding new ways to win. We have never seen a drive, a comeback like that from this Indiana team. We've seen a lot of late drives in the fourth quarter with a tie game. We've never seen one like this where game on the line, score or go home with a loss. It was unbelievable what they were able to do. Let's go through these highlights. There's a lot we can talk about. The fourth quarter could take up all of it, but we've got the whole game to run you through. First time ever, Indiana has been favored in this matchup, and Fernando Mendoza would get the scoring going early. Didn't like what he saw with his eyes, uses his legs. He's got a hamburger named after him for a reason. Fernando Mendoza dives into the end zone for the first 6.
Yep, he was able to use his legs effectively there. It wasn't the first rush touchdown he's had. Neither is this going to be the last rush touchdown that Nick Singleton has. He ends the game with 3. Kaelon Black answers very quickly after the fumble. Indiana goes up 17-7 at the half.
And it's not Penn State if there's not a big run. How about Nick Singleton breaking away 59 yards? D'Angelo Pons, despite referee interference, able to pull him down right around the 2-yard line. And then another handoff to Nick Singleton, and he gets it to the house. Penn State cuts into the Hoosiers' lead.
Now, you have to stop a long, sustained drive here if you're the Nittany Lions, and the best way to do that is picking off Fernando Mendoza. King Mack undercuts the E.J. Williams intended pass, and Penn State is in the red zone.
And then again, Nick Singleton, we've talked about him a lot, making different Hoosiers miss. He finds his way into the end zone for 6, and the Nittany Lions, they storm back. They take that lead.
Yeah, now Fernando, he's gotten them all the way down the field, inside the 10-yard line, fading away, hit by 2 defenders. Omar Cooper defies gravity, has control, gets the trail foot down. Graham, watch this angle here. The near foot, watch the knee bend. 6.
Unbelievable.
Unreal stuff. Confirmed after the replay. Indiana wins in Beaver Stadium for the first time ever.
Just an unbelievable game in all assets. That fourth quarter was electric, Thomas. The first time all season that Indiana was outgained by their opponent. 336 yards by the Nittany Lions, 326 by the Hoosiers. Ethan Grunkmeyer really played his best game all season ever since taking in the shoes for the injured Drew Aller. Graham, this was not a great performance from Indiana, especially that second half. I mean, they were leading 20-7 after the Aiden Fisher interception, settled for the field goal. Things were trending like this could be, another blowout for Indiana. But Penn State, they fought. This is a very talented team, and they showed that in that second half.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, this Penn State team, we talked about it a little bit last week. Maybe not enough considering what happened, but this Penn State team, NFL guys, from top to bottom on the roster, guys who will get drafted, go play in the National Football League. I mean, there were scouts left, right, and center at Beaver Stadium, and for good reason. I mean, these guys, they're just physical. They're big players, and the mindset switch was so impressive. That shows to me NFL level guys, right? They're down. They got punched time and time again. Indiana had a chance to really seal it after that Aiden Fisher pick. And still the Penn State team found a way to punch back, fight back. They're a really, really talented team. And they showed that in that entire second half.
And Thomas, it was a stripe out, 100,000+ at Beaver Stadium. I mean, this was the first home game since James Franklin was fired. Terry Smith's first home game as the interim head coach. I mean, how about that atmosphere? How much of an impact was it for the Indiana offense to try and get anything going once Penn State started to, get back in the game and eventually take the lead?
Well, I think the biggest part of the game was when Penn State held Indiana to a field goal after the interception coming out at halftime. We saw the Penn State players walking out at halftime. They looked locked in. They still looked like they had some fire to them. And then an immediate interception could have just completely thrown the game away. But they get the stop, force a field goal, and then that's when the onslaught kind of began. They were able to stop Indiana on offense, and a lot of it had to do with the crowd noise. It was so loud there.
This was a game that was filled with moments, whether it was another Heisman moment for Fernando Mendoza where he goes on a game-winning drive, his third now on the road, and he's done it in 3 of the toughest places to play in the country. A moment for the program as they earn their 10th win of the season, first at Beaver Stadium. But for the head coach, Curt Cignetti, this moment was special. He's a Yinzer. He's from the area. He's been to Beaver Stadium plenty of times, never really come away with the win. His first time as a coach, he's able to. This one was special for Curt Cignetti. Let's see what he has to say.
And meant a lot. And I guess what part of it, probably I was thinking back a little bit. My first time in that stadium was 1971, and every 2 years I was in that stadium for about 15, 16 years. And I can tell you there were a lot of long rides home, not many happy rides home. So that one meant a lot. And you think about my journey, right? 10, 15 years ago. Did I ever think I'd lead a team into that stadium? No. Lead a team into that stadium victorious? So I think, but it was mainly centered around how our guys responded and the challenge that they overcame.
You could really tell this one hit home for Cignetti. I mean, his interview with Jenny Taft, that clip right there. But a moment in particular, he's walking towards the Hoosier faithful that went up, and he didn't just let out a go IU. He let out a scream, Graham. I mean, there was so much passion. He just double-fisted, went, wow. It was kind of crazy to see that in real time, but you could tell this one meant a ton to him, and the players, they resonated by coming away with the win.
Yeah, it did. I mean, both of his fists were behind his head. He was going for it. He was really, really excited. And I mean, can't blame him, right? The way that this team came back. He said in post-game pressers, he was like, I have never seen something like that in all of my days. I thought it was really funny because all the players came in and they were like, yeah, we knew we were going to come back. We had unshakable belief. And Cignetti was like, I really thought that was going to get, I thought that was going to be interesting for a second. It was hilarious. But yeah, I mean, that raw emotion, that's not something that we saw at all from Cignetti last season. He was enjoying himself.
Yeah, in the post game, Aiden Fisher was saying, yeah, I told Fernando, you got this. This is what you practice all the time. Cignetti comes in, and he's like, that was improbable. All of you in here thought we were probably out of it. It was just complete flip right there. But Thomas, on the 2-minute drill, I know you got a ton to talk about that. How loose can a team be, especially when the offense is playing so poor in the second half?
That's actually the thing that kind of goes unnoticed about 2-minute drills is how simplistic it is. It's putting your socks and then your sneakers on. All you got to do is it's simple routes, out routes, 10 yards, get a first down, clock stops. Or if you get a first down within the hashes, you spike the ball. It's simple routes, it's simple plays, and it's stuff you've worked on so much. I talk about it in our film room here, kind of the perspective of a quarterback, the perspective of an offensive coordinator, and just how you get down the field. And then at the end of the day, you got to have a guy defy gravity every once in a while. So let's jump to film room. All right, guys, another film room. This time, instead of doing 3 plays and kind of going in depth on them, we're going to do Indiana's entire 2-minute drive that led to the Omar Cooper touchdown. Talk about what Fernando's seeing and what kind of the game plan is. So when we look at it, first thing I noticed at the 20-yard line after a touchback, Penn State punted the ball, and Indiana got lucky that it didn't kind of stop in this under 5 area, and this would have been a much longer drive. Now, down 4, obviously need a touchdown. Minute 51, you have to go 80 yards, no timeouts. Clock's not the biggest worry in the world, but you're going to spiking the ball is going to be your friend. I'll say that. Now, what's big here? Obviously, no turnovers. Again, it's over if you turn the ball over. and try not to get sacked. You lose 20 seconds anytime you get sacked. Avoid getting sacked. Here we go. 3 at the bottom, 1 at the top. Penn State's only going to bring 4 defenders. Fernando holds the ball so long on this play, right? He had about 4.5 seconds of time, and he just held it. That was the story of the day on Saturday. Now, you just lost 20 seconds on your first play. You've just been dropped back to it being about an 87-yard drive now, and you can't spike it because you don't only want 2 plays to get 17 yards. So try and break this in half, or if you get the first down, go spike it. Only bringing 4 again for Penn State. It worked for him last time. No reason to not try it again. Fernando's able to step into this throw, and because of a really soft zone coverage, Omar Cooper's wide open. I didn't understand the coverage there. So what happens? Indiana spikes the ball. Going into a 2-minute drive, you kind of have a script or a game plan. You get sacked on first down. That gets thrown out the window. So go spike the ball and take your 40 seconds to kind of just get everything back under control. After they did that on second down, E.J. Williams caught about a 12-yard out route. Clock stops. First down. Now, Penn State's going to start getting creative on this D-line. They haven't gotten to Fernando since the first play, so they're going to try and do it again. Minute 17, you're fine on time. 5 guys at the line of scrimmage. This is a chance to take a shot with those extra guys there. Nobody really gets to Fernando. He has Cooper. It was an awesome double move, but Fernando rushed his progressions, rushed the throw. When you're getting pressured as much as he did all day on Saturday, you're going to rush things. You wish he could have that one back. So now, only 4 guys here at the line. You just want a first down so you can go spike the ball. Minute 13, you're not worried about the clock. Protect Fernando. Do not allow a sack. Steps up in the pocket. Finds Nowakowski. Awesome brand. Awesome strike. Now you're really in a good spot. Nowakowski went out on that play. Lost Indiana some time because it allowed Penn State to get their subs in by rule. So 55 seconds. Almost in the red zone. You're fine on time. Just don't want to take sacks. That's what I've been saying the whole time. Do not let these guys at the line of scrimmage trick you. Looks like single coverage here on the bottom and the top. Good protection. Fernando, a strike to his roommate, Charlie Becker. And this guy came into this game with 7 catches on the season, and he made one of the biggest catches of his life. He ended the game with 7 catches, 100-plus yards. Awesome catch. So, first down. That was typically on the scrimmage. Won the big play. Didn't lose any time. No danger there. Now, look at this. 8 guys, right? 3 up top. It's going to be man coverage. Some of these guys are going to drop back. But what's the hard part about having 8 guys on the line of scrimmage? Figuring out who is coming. Tough for the D-line, and it's tough for for Fernando to figure out which guys are coming. So let's see if he's able to diagnose it. Lee ended up dropping, but he never sees that guy on the right side, and neither did Benson. It was Benson's fault that guy's able to get home, hits the arm, and Penn State was a slippery field away from ending that game there. They would have been able to kneel it. But now, third down, you're not in panic mode. You still have obviously plenty of time, and it's third down. You have another down to work with if you don't get this. It's just once again, in the O-line, diagnose which guys are going to come. You know it's going to be single coverage man. They bring all but 7 guys on the blitz, fading away, and Omar Cooper. You got to be kidding me. Look how high he gets up on this catch, almost at the goalpost, and then watch his eyes here. He's looking down at this foot. He knows that it's going to touch way too soon, so he bends the knee to get this foot in. Referee had a great angle of it, made the correct call on the field, and it was upheld after replay. Unreal drive from Fernando Mendoza. Unreal catch by Omar Cooper. That's how you do it, especially if you want to make it to the next level. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Thomas, as always, for breaking down some of the nitty-gritties in the film room. Man, that 2-minute drive, it really felt like an acai bowl. It was fresh. It was fast, and man, was it unexpected at times. It felt like the boys were playing some playground football, plays that you just never really see happen. And Graham, Omar Cooper Jr., it's hard to put into words what he did.
It was unbelievable. I mean, the athleticism that guy showed. We talked about it, Thomas, in our 40-yard dash after the game. I made a stop. I made a stop the 40-yard dash. That's never been done before because the way that watching it in slow-mo is unbelievable. He's looking down. He's looking down at the ground, trying to pay attention to where his body is. He has the awareness to bend his lead leg, his right leg, away from the turf to create more space. We'll get a good look at it here. That right leg's fully extended, and then all of a sudden, he just bends that knee right as it gets to the ground. I mean, when you're in this situation, I mean, the Hoosiers, they were playing like they were bankrupt, right? You got to go for broke.
Yeah.
And what a catch from Omar Cooper to seal it.
What a catch by Cooper, just the focus, the pressure, the moment of everything. But Thomas, for Fernando Mendoza to have two guys, right, left, his blind spot, and right at him, to be able to make that throw kind of off balance in a place that only Cooper could make that catch.
Yeah, I mean, I just hit on it in the film room. He knew it was going to be man because they ran the same blitz on just the play before. And he knew that those linebackers were going to drop, but they weren't going to be there quick enough. So you have a guy who's going to be open across the middle of the field. You don't realize that you're going to be fading away, throwing the ball with two guys who are hitting you. The catch, unreal. But the throw, guys, that's a make or break kind of moment. I know it's third down. You might have one more play afterwards, but having two guys in your face and making a throw like that, that's all world stuff.
We had three different angles of the Cooper catch as well from our eyes. I was down there on the end zone line, behind the end zone. Thomas was on the sideline, Graham up in the broadcast booth. I mean, unbelievable stuff from Omar Cooper Jr. It's hard to really find a catch that I've seen live that is better than that. I mean, we watched back in 2014 Odell Beckham do the improbable, and this, it rivals that moment.
I totally agree. I think the only catch that I can think of besides that one, especially in college ball, that can maybe even stand up to it, is the Charlie Becker catch that we saw like 2 plays before. That dude's catch was unbelievable. We saw that and we were like, that's the best catch of the game. That's the best catch of the game. And then Omar Cooper Jr. does what he does. I mean, the plays that this team made, this wide receiver room made down the stretch was unbelievable.
That was something big because Elijah Surratt did not play against Penn State. He was banged up against Maryland. That was kind of a big injury storyline. Rested against Penn State, and I think it showed in a big way when the offense started to stall a little bit. And guys needed to step up, and one did. Charlie Becker, 100 yards on the day for Becker. The fourth receiver for the Hoosiers to surpass 100-yard mark. Just unbelievable stuff. When he needed to step up the most, Fernando Mendoza found his roommate, Thomas.
Yes, 7 catches all season coming to the game for Charlie Becker. He had 7 catches, 100-plus yards in this game. Guys, that pass right before the Omar one was coming right at me. It landed just at my feet. Guys, for him to be able to find that ball, to rise up, and then he had no room. It was the same as Omar. No chance to catch that ball. Gets that foot down to come up. I asked him after the game, I said, hey, how do you prepare yourself for a moment like that? And he says, well, one is my roommate throwing me the ball. We have chemistry. And then also it's just, shout outs to the offensive line and the rest of the guys for just giving him enough time. And when you throw a ball like that, he's got to make a play, and he stepped up and he did.
It's kind of wild. I mean, we saw those last 2 plays right there, Graham. I've seen these clips probably a dozen times now, and I'm still in shock. Becker made, until that Cooper catch, 2 of the craziest catches I've seen. That contested ball where he just ripped it away, broke it for a little more, and then the sideline catch where he's able to somehow get a foot down. He's falling on his back hard. Unbelievable athleticism from Charlie Becker.
Yeah, he just he glides through the air. He kind of levitates, he doesn't fall at a normal rate. This guy just stays up there in the air. And it was so fun to watch because, he really hasn't gotten that much playing time. He sure hasn't gotten that many targets this season. And then in one of the biggest moments, obviously the biggest drive of the season, Charlie Becker comes up with an unbelievable catch that's of course gets overshadowed by Omar Cooper's because it was unbelievable, but man, what a performance.
And it was forgotten, guys. He almost had a touchdown. He was inches away, just got tackled at the half-inch line before Kaylon Black ran his in.
Now, another spotlight on the receiving end in the absence of Elijah Surratt was a tight end, the 3rd highest graded player on the day of the Indiana offense. Riley Nowakowski had the 2nd most receiving yards in a single game of his career, second only to his Michigan State game just a couple weeks ago. Came up in a big way, 3 receptions, 51 yards. And Thomas, I know you talked about in the film room, the play he made up the seam, but just to have the versatility of weapons with no Surratt in clutch moments, Nowakowski stepped up.
Yeah, that was a strike down the field, catching that ball. That's probably the one that also gets overshadowed by the Becker, which gets overshadowed by the Omar, right? There's so many positive plays on that 2-minute drive, but he just caught a strike. He also had this catch, first down, getting into the 15-yard line in Penn State. Guys, he's been effective all year. And when you are missing a guy like Elijah Surratt, you have to have someone step up. Nowakowski was one of the guys who did.
That play right there, knowing that he's going to take a big hit from the safety and still just being able to bring it down, get down as well. It shows mature stuff. I mean, this is a veteran guy. His 6th year playing college ball. He's been all over the place. He's a linebacker, fullback, now tight end, and he's stepping up in a big way. And Graham, again, one of the highest graded players on that offense from Penn State.
Yeah, and for good reason, right? I mean, he's become a really impressive blocker. Said to us even before the season that he just loves blocking. That's like one of his favorite things to do in football. And then we've also gotten used to seeing his hands a little bit more. He's slowly throughout Big Ten play gotten more and more opportunities to show that he is a very good pass catcher. I mean, in this game, he ran a season high 27 routes, which was the second most of his entire career. This guy is starting to get comfortable in this position and not just being a blocker and being an actual option for a Heisman candidate quarterback. He's stepping up to an elite level in Big Ten play.
Now, as important as that 2-minute drive was to keep this undefeated train, this 10-0 Indiana season rolling, this game was not pretty, Thomas. I mean, the Hoosiers led 20-7, and it looked like they were trending up. And something we talked about before the show, Aiden Fisher gets that second half interception. If Indiana goes and scores, we really feel like that's kind of the sucker punch. That's what really takes all the energy out of Beaver Stadium. Penn State held strong, and they clawed away. And honestly, they were so close from coming away with, a big win for them, a turnaround win for them. But Indiana found a way, but it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, I'll even jump closer to the first half when Penn State fumbled that ball in their own territory and Indiana recovered it and scored. It was 17-7. And then you come out of the half, it's a big moment, right? If you can go down and score, make it to 17-14, you're in this game and you're feeling confident. You throw an interception. And then that's when kind of the lights turn on. And it's like, oh man, if we don't get a stop here, this game's over. 24-7. We're losing all of our hope, but you get the stop. And then the third quarter is kind of nobody's game, really. Yeah. Nobody was really doing much. And then the fourth quarter comes and Nick Singleton scores. And then he scores again. And then you get the interception. And then you get the stop. You have the ball at home, and Indiana's having to use timeouts, and you get a first down. And you think, holy cow, we just fired our coach. We just lost our quarterback to a torn ACL, and we're going to beat the number 2 team in the nation at home. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
Just ripped away. Graham, with how talented the backfield is for Penn State, the Nick Singleton, the Kaytron Allen, it was Ethan Grunkemeyer who really shined in that comeback effort. Over 200 yards, arguably his best game of the season for Penn State. And he was kind of dicing up that Indiana defense who was really selling out against the run.
Yeah, like you have to, right? You got Kaytron Allen and Nick Singleton. You've got to make sure that you've got the guys in the trenches to stop those two. But that means that there was a lot of open space often for Grunkemeyer to work. He didn't do a ton in that first half. Kind of looked like the Ethan Grunkemeyer that played against Ohio State, right. A little unsettled. Indiana pressured him a little bit, a lot better than they did in the second half. But the second half, it was an entirely new dude in the second half. Grunkemeyer, he looked composed. He looked calm. He was handling the pocket in a way that I haven't seen from him all season. Like he looked cool, calm, collected, and he was delivering strikes. When the pressure came, he didn't panic, didn't have happy feet, which is something we've kind of talked about all season regarding Fernando Mendoza. He was just there. He was in the moment, and he was delivering ball after ball right on target.
Yeah, and I think something that we haven't talked about enough that maybe we should think about a little bit is we talked about them coming at Penn State, coming out of the locker room. They looked fresh. They looked energized, ready to go. You take away that fumble on the last possession of that half, they could have gone and scored and taken a lead. I wonder if that had something to do with the halftime locker room of, hey, if we don't fumble that ball, we're actually in this game, and it might have given them some confidence.
I was really confused by that last drive, though, of the half. Penn State had 2.5 minutes. They ran one rushing play and then just let the clock bleed into the 2-minute warning. Right out of that, it's just a little screen dump off to Singleton, and then that's the fumble.
Yep.
It didn't really look like they were pushing that much to get that score. I agree with you. Something could have totally happened, but I was thinking up in the box. I was like, man, they got 2.5 minutes and they weren't trying anything. It looked like they just really wanted to get in the locker room.
Now, Thomas, I do want to talk a little bit schematically, and we even touched on it with the snap count for the Indiana defense. It was a lot of 5-down linemen. Devin Boykin really didn't play a ton of snaps in the game. How much did that affect maybe Grunkemeier's performance to kind of excel when, Indiana's kind of selling their soul against the run, not allowing Nick Singleton, who did break a 59-yarder, but still, the rush defense held their part.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword for Bryant Haynes in a way, right? When you have that many down linemen, you're saying, we're going to shut down the run. And Grunkemeyer, you're going to have to do it yourself. If you want to win this game, you're going to have to do it against our defense. Well, it becomes a double-edged sword when the quarterback actually starts doing it. And that run game wasn't working. Obviously, you mentioned the long run, but when you have that many down linemen in the game, it gets easy when you don't have either an extra linebacker or an extra defensive back. Quarterback can start to kind of work there, and he did. He got into a flow. Man, he looked comfortable.
And then for the Indiana offensive line, it seemed like Fernando Mendoza was a little bit flustered in this game, Graham. He was sacked 3 times, pressured a ton. Some guys dinged up on the Indiana offensive line. Drew Evans out, Zed Michalski didn't play. So with Johnny is the one that's filling in as a redshirt freshman. Mendoza paid the price at times.
Yeah, he did. He was pressured on season high 50% of his dropbacks. That was 18 of 36. He was blitzed on 20 of those. They were going at him, which we've talked about a lot. Indiana is one of the highest blitzed teams in the Big Ten, maybe even in the country,
right,
just because of how good Fernando Mendoza is and Mike Shanahan's plays and schemes are. But that meant that they really brought the pressure to Fernando Mendoza, and a hurt line just couldn't do much. I mean, even Khalil Benson at one point, someone rolled up on his ankle and he had to come out of the game. He was fortunate enough to go right back in. But yeah, Adedamola Ajani, he struggled. And a lot of these guys struggled, really just allowing that consistent QB pressure. It's eventually going to get home.
Is there a concern moving forward about maybe the depth of the offensive line or the performance? I mean, because yes, Wisconsin, Purdue might not pose the greatest challenge. Wisconsin, has been able to pressure the quarterback pretty well, but come the Big Ten championship, if that's a potential CFP, those are elite defensive lines.
It's about getting Drew Evans back.
Yeah.
Once you get him healthy, we talked about it last week, having one offensive lineman out kind of makes things difficult. When you lose 2, hopefully for Indiana, they can try and stay healthy in that area. If you lose 2, it gets really difficult. If they get Drew Evans back and the offensive line that started the first, section of games that really had done an awesome job, if you get them back, I'm not worried about the O-line.
Now, Graham, do want to touch one thing on the defense. Yes, they gave up some chunk plays there in the fourth quarter especially, but when it mattered the most, they came up with the much-needed stop. They gave up a first down with about 3 minutes to go in the game. It was like, oh my gosh, one more first down. This game is over. They were able to stop Penn State. Penn State had a great little bootleg call to try and get the first down. Good tackling. I mean, how important was it for the defense to bend but not break?
Oh, I mean, it was huge, right? You give that offense enough time to work with. It wasn't a lot of time. At one point, certainly felt like it was not enough time, but that defense just shut it down. And it really shows that I think they schemed well for this game because they were well prepared for that running game. And when Penn State just wanted to bleed the clock late, they stepped up. I mean, if you take away that Nick Singleton 60-yard run, Penn State only had 2.5 yards per carry.
Right.
And even with that big run, Penn State had its second worst rushing performance of the season. So clearly, Indiana's scheme was well executed in trying to prevent that rushing attack from really flourishing and really executing at the level that it can. But man, it came down to the linebackers at the very end for me. Aiden Fisher was in on every single tackle in that last drive for Penn State.
Yeah, and guys, we talk about moments in a game like this. There are 10, 15, 20 moments that really matter, and a lot of them we can't get to. We're only on here for an hour, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that we have to talk about, on Indiana's penultimate drive before they went down and scored, it was a 3rd and 11. They hadn't had much success. They had just gotten sacked, and it's 3rd and 11. The time on the play clock is running down. It gets to 3-2. And I see the receivers. They're right in front of me. It's EJ Williams. I think Omar Cooper. They're looking at the sideline, motioning timeout. Kurt Signetti doesn't take his timeout. It's a delay of game. They don't get it on 3rd and 16, and they punt. But that is a moment, guys, because if he takes that timeout and they go into the next possession, even though they would have gotten the ball back, instead of it being a minute 51, it's closer to a minute 11.
Wow.
It's hard to put into words about that. It's a game of inches, and I think a game like this really showed that, Thomas. And something I can't believe we didn't talk about, Mendoza was sacked on the first play of that 2-minute drive and was able to go 87 yards with the boys. But we're going to take a quick break because you touched on the linebackers, and I was able to talk to one, a senior linebacker, Aiden Fisher, one of the leaders of this team. He's playing in his final home game here at Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium this Saturday. It's going to be very special for him. He kind of reflects on the season so far and what this Saturday is going to look like. All right, player spotlight, Aiden Fisher, linebacker for the Hoosiers. Aiden, just first thing about Penn State, a win like that, coming back, everything that happened. I mean, what does that show about, this collection of young men you have?
Yeah, I mean, we're just resilient, refusing to lose, such a gritty team. I think what not a lot of people realize is how talented that roster is at Penn State. I mean, they got guys everywhere, really NFL talent at, every level of their team. So I'm not sure why everybody kind of downplayed it, but it's all good. They're a really good team, but I think it speaks more so, to us as a team. Being down like that, I'm sure the odds were very high that, we were going to lose that game going into that final drive, but just phenomenal character on this team that I think kind of prevails over, struggling moments and hard times like that.
You mentioned on Saturday how you kind of said something to Fernando before that last drive. How much pride do you take as a leader of not just the defense but of the whole team?
Yeah, for that moment, I really wanted him to know that, I had no nerves for him. I feel like that maybe could have calmed him down and let him go into it confident. But I think I kind of spoke for the whole team in that moment. Nobody was nervous. Everybody knew if we can get the ball back in, 15's hands, I think we're going to be just fine. So with that many playmakers on offense, we have full confidence in them. We gave them the ball back with 10 seconds left. They go down and win it. So, I just think everybody did a really good job, staying calm and poised in the moments that we needed it the most, defensively and offensively, go back to back like that, get a stop, and then go score. Just really proud of this team and, how they fought back when we needed it.
And then for Coach Signetti, I mean, he's from that area. He's, been in that stadium many times before. He seemed very passionate, emotional after this game. I mean, what did it mean to, to see him like that and everything, his upbringing to be where he is now, to win in a place like that?
Yeah, it's always good to get some emotion out of Coach Sig. I'm really happy we could do that for him. I know growing up in Pennsylvania, I bet that really meant a lot to him, going into a school that really represents, Pennsylvania as a whole. So, just really happy for him. The preparation that he puts in, I've been seeing it for 4 years now. So everything that he's had come his way, he's earned. He's just such a great person to play for, and he's kind of modeled a lot of things after, him. So just really happy for him and, proud that we were able to do it for him.
Now you got dinged up in the UCLA game, didn't play against Maryland, had the headset. I mean, how's your body feeling? How are you feeling for this last little stretch of the regular season?
Yeah, feeling really good now. Just had a minor tweak that I had to take care of from that UCLA game, but feeling a lot better now and, getting ready to roll for this back half.
Last home game, senior day. I mean, to be one of the core members, one of the centerpieces of this huge turnaround that the program had, I mean, what does it mean to you to, be at Memorial Stadium one last time?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be emotional for me for sure. Coming here, I had no clue what Indiana was like, let alone Bloomington itself. So coming here has been extremely special to me. I've grown so much as a person, which is more important to me than it is, to grow as a player. But I think I've done a great job doing both, just growing myself. But, just the people here, how supportive they've been, the way they've kind of taken me in with open arms. It's going to be very emotional for me. I absolutely love and adore this place. So it'll be special, but, we'll give them a good show one last time before we, get a little send-off.
What's been your favorite part about Bloomington, or maybe just, playing here?
Just the people. Everywhere I go, everybody's, very, very friendly. It feels like a family culture everywhere you go. Pats on the back, good job. When I got hurt, the first thing that, I got when I left the stadium was people waiting out there asking if I'm okay, asking, how long it's going to be. So just the people care here. I think they really wanted a winner, and I'm glad that we could give that to them. But, it's just the people here just make this place so special.
And then with family, I mean, it's the reason why you wear 4. Mm-hmm. To have your family along with you walking out on senior day, I mean, can you put into words what a moment like that is going to be like?
It's special. It'll also be my sister's birthday, my older sister, so we're going to share a little moment together on the field. But it's just special for us, how much we've gone through together to be at this spot. It's not so much just a day for me. I think it's for all of us and how far we've come together. The only special word I have for this Saturday is special. So just really looking forward to it and excited about it.
Well, and appreciate it. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Yes, sir.
This is a very veteran-heavy Indiana team. 28 guys in their final year of eligibility. Aiden Fisher among that group in his final year, going through the senior day on Saturday. It'll be a special moment for a lot of those Indiana players. We're going to take a look at some big picture stuff. The Penn State game for Indiana was a game that, yes, they probably should have lost. When you look at the nitty-gritty, you kind of dive into everything about that. But the thing about good teams that turn into great, they take adverse moments and they come away with wins. I looked at every college football playoff national champion, Graham, and all of them have had a moment where they've either lost a game or a game, and even on the undefeated teams, the teams that looked like some of the best of all time, they had games where it's like, really? It was that close? And it happens.
It does. Yeah. I mean, like, look no further than literally last year, 2024, Ohio State lost not one, but 2 games. One of them was the game to the Michigan Wolverines for yet another year. I mean, it's incredible looking at this list, but I think last year is the best example. And I think it's also really, really cool because it shows how this new format can make for really entertaining postseason. You got 12 teams. I mean, for goodness sake, this year, Miami could run the table and they could be national champions. Who knows? Like, the roads, the possibilities are endless. I said if they run the table. But that's the point of this format, right? Is anything can happen. And I think Ohio State is the picture perfect example of that.
I think it was. I mean, yes, they were clearly going into that playoffs with a lot of juice. They were a power program, but losing to Michigan was like, whoa. Yeah. With all the talent that they had, yes, losing to Oregon in Autzen, not every team can go to Autzen and come away with a win, but Ohio State was not able to. But Thomas, is there any teams on this list that kind of shout out to you of the, there have been now 11 national champions?
Yeah, I see LSU as one. LSU in 2019, Burrow, Chase, all those NFL players now, Chase on the back end, Stingley, so many NFL players on that team. Ed Orgeron, they had a 0 behind their name at the end of the season, but I don't know if very many people would realize they had 3 one-score games, 23-20 against Auburn, touchdown win to Texas, and then a 5-point win over Alabama. I think a lot of people consider that one of, if not the best college football teams of all time, and I was surprised to see they had as many close games as they did.
Especially with how electric that offense was. The 23-20 win over Auburn was one that really stood out. I mean, Joe Burrow had 60 touchdown passes that season. It was one of the most incredible years of all time. We're taking an even bigger picture because we have our CFP breakdown. Our very own Brooks White takes a look back at this last weekend in college football. It's a fun one. It always is. It's college football in November. Brooks, take it away.
We open with number 1 Ohio State, still fully in control of the college football playoff race. Julian Sain added to his Heisman case with 303 yards in a 34-10 win at Purdue. And Jeremiah Smith dominated with 10 catches for 137 yards and a score. The Buckeyes are 9-0, winners of 13 straight, and their best win remains the opener against then number 1 Texas. This week, Ohio State returns for a home matchup against UCLA. Number 2 Indiana stayed perfect with their most dramatic win yet. Fernando Mendoza led a 1:31 game-winning drive capped off by Omar Cooper Jr.'s toe-tap touchdown to beat Penn State 27-24, IU's first ever win in Happy Valley. The Hoosiers are now 10-0 with the signature victory still being the road win over Oregon. Next up, the Hoosiers host Wisconsin at home. Number 3, Texas A&M rolled behind Marcel Reed. Reed threw for 221 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Aggies defense overwhelmed Missouri in a 38-17 win. A&M moves to 9-0, their best start since 1992, and still owns that huge win at Notre Dame. This week, the Aggies return home to face South Carolina and Shane Beamer and continue Marcel Reed's Heisman campaign. Number 4, Alabama keeps climbing. Ty Simpson threw for 277 yards as the Tide beat LSU 20-9, holding the Tigers out of the end zone for the first time in over a decade. Alabama has now won 8 straight with the season-defining win at Georgia. Next up is a crucial home showdown with number 11, Oklahoma.
The second college football rankings came out this Tuesday. Some shakeup, some stayed the same. The top 4, really, it's apples to oranges right there. 3 undefeated teams still with Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama. Those 4 didn't really change. Georgia didn't even change, but it's Texas Tech that kind of took a leap. Huge win, Thomas, against BYU and those Red Raiders. They are here. They invested in football, and they look like a real threat this season.
Yeah, I said last week that Indiana was the only top 5 scoring offense and top 5 scoring defense. I can't say the same thing this week. Now Texas Tech falls into that category as well. That's high praise for a team that really got it done in Lubbock. They look good this week.
Now, some of the talks through whether it was social media, the actual bracket show itself, was with Texas A&M, an undefeated team that just, kind of put belt to butt on Missouri this past weekend on the road, a ranked road win. This is a team that's really knocking on the door. They're trying to crack into that top 2 right now. Graham, they look strong, but couldn't quite make the cut to get into the top 2 yet.
Yeah, a lot of pundits are saying that they should be. A lot of people after this past weekend of football are saying that A&M should have been there because of this beatdown. The offense looked good. The defense looked good until middle of the game there. Missouri started to fight back, got some points, but it was never really in doubt that Texas A&M was going to win this game. And I mean, they've looked good. The Aggies have looked good since the beginning of the season. They're undefeated. It's like they're playing at recess against some of these other opponents. It's hard to bring those guys down.
They have one of the most dominant units when it comes to pass rush. They just swarm quarterbacks, just make their life a living hell. But one thing that I've noticed from Texas A&M is you take out the sack adjusted yards, they're giving up over 5 yards per carry. That is something that could, come into play depending on who they play, come the college football playoff, anything like that, SEC championship. Moving forward, a big game that happened in the Big Ten, Thomas, was Oregon at Iowa. Kinnick, we know it's a tough place to play. They're loud, they're rowdy. It was rainy, weird weather. Kind of like the Indiana-Penn State game, Oregon did not have a good game, but when it mattered the most, Dante Moore, oh man, he made some plays.
Yeah, we got the awesome opportunity to watch the end of that game over at the Horseshoe Curve Lodge in Altoona. The screen was a little staticky, but we saw it. Yeah, Dante Moore, though, we've talked all this show about Fernando Mendoza's 2-minute drive. Well, how about Dante Moore and Atticus Sappington making that kick, putting Oregon up, and they win that game. Very Big Ten West kind of game.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon kind of fitting in the mold of a Big Ten West school now. Obviously, no divisions in the Big Ten, but Atticus Sappington, big moment for him. And Oregon, that's a big win to kind of, I feel like got a little bit disrespected in that initial rankings, dropping down to 9. But that was a win there, tough road win. They silenced the haters, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it also just shows how hard it is to win at Iowa.
Absolutely.
Iowa's a good team. They're right around that 2021 spot in this most recent ranking. They've got players, and Kinnick gets loud. They obviously don't have the same capacity as Beaver Stadium, but I felt like that pop of the Fernando interception at Kinnick was one of the loudest that I have heard all season long. And I agree. We just talked about adversity. Every team that goes on to win a national championship recently has gone through adversity. I think that Oregon absolutely falls under that category. A, losing at home in a place where it never rains, and then B, nearly losing on the road to an Iowa team that just crept into the rankings, trying to really prove themselves, put everything that they had into that game, all their heart and soul, and somehow Dante Moore threading the needle on that last drive, a beautiful throw, and Atticus Sappington gets it done.
And I think that's the fun thing with this college football season. It looks like there might be some really fun parity because, you look at the top 10, even with Miami sneaking in, USF in this rankings right now at the 12, every one of those teams has a moment of adversity outside of really one, which is the number 1 seed right now. Ohio State really hasn't skipped a beat ever since winning that national championship. They're the team to beat right now. They haven't really been tested. Even in their week 1 against Texas, they kind of just controlled the game defensively, only allowed 7 points to a Texas team that's looking very strong. But let's segue, boys. I know you had your CFP brackets, your updated brackets. So, Graham, I'll let you break down your 12 teams first.
All right, let's go through it. This is what I've got. I got Ohio State at the 1, A&M as the SEC champions at 2, and then Indiana, the Big Ten runner-ups at 3, Bama, SEC runners-up at 4, Georgia at 5. I've got Oregon winning out some big games against USC and Washington. They go up to 6. Texas Tech behind at 7, and then Ole Miss 8. Notre Dame getting in there, making a little bit more motion, but just with the quality of games left, quality of opponents, I don't think they can move up much higher past 9. BYU 10. I got Miami sneaking in at 11, and then I've got JMU and there's my group of 5 team at 12.
Roll Dukes. Imagine a world where James Madison and Indiana meet up. The Kurt Signetti Bowl, some might call that. Thomas, let's get your rankings.
Yeah, my top 6 are unchanged. Still Ohio State, A&M, Indiana, Bama, Oregon, and Ole Miss as my 1 through 6. And then a little bit of shift at the backside. Texas Tech with a big win in Lubbock this week. Notre Dame just moves up. They keep winning. They beat a good Navy team. Georgia Tech, I still think they get in, winning the ACC. Texas gets in with a win this week against Georgia. And then Georgia, they stay alive in my bracket for now. I'm going to have to see how they play this week, see if they've finally gotten rid of all their 9 lives. And then Memphis at the backside. Memphis has a tough task to win the American. They're going to have to do a lot of things to try and get into the 12-team playoff, but they're still the team I think looks best offensively and defensively.
There are certainly some questions. The first I have is with Texas Tech, because right now in the actual rankings, they are 6. If they win the Big 12, why would they be any lower than that? I mean, you had them 8, right? Or 7?
I had them just behind Oregon.
Just behind Oregon right there at 7.
Them at
you
7.
can see
We
they're
both
right
had
there.
them.
Both at 7. Why would you have them dropping if they win out, especially if they win convincingly the Big 12 championship? They could be pushing for a top 4 seed.
They could be. I was thinking about it. In my mind, if Georgia wins out and if Oregon wins out, which I have them doing, I think they're going to be favored by the committee. I don't necessarily know if they will be the better teams, but just the way that, last season went with Selection Sunday and everything that went down, I think that the Georgia team winning out and this Oregon team winning out will still have the favor of the CFP people making the decisions.
Yeah, I think it also has to do with the fact that they play better teams more often. Yeah. Texas Tech has that BYU when they have a couple decent wins in the Big 12, but they don't have the best wins, the SEC wins or the Big 10 wins that I think the committee will probably favor a little bit more.
The thing about Texas Tech, though, is they are dismantling their opponents. Yeah. Outside of their lone loss to Arizona State, they have just put a beat down on the teams they've played. Something about Notre Dame that's interesting. I mean, they're knocking on the door. One little switch up and they are playing back-to-back home playoff games. How crazy would that be after the start they had?
Oh, I would be insane. I mean, that first loss to, I believe it was Miami, that was like, okay, that rustled some feathers. They lose the next week. And it's like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, I thought they were down. Still ranked, right? Still ranked. I thought they were down and out, but somehow they claw back. That win against USC was gutsy. They're a good team. They're well coached. It just seems like they're one of those teams that took a bit of time to find their own.
Big game this weekend, College Game Day.
Absolutely. At Pitt, I mean, Pat McAfee is going to be juice. That is his backyard right there, his old stomping grounds. Notre Dame's an interesting team because Jeremiah Love looks like the best running back in the country, kind of taken in the form of one of a preseason, maybe a long shot Heisman guy, but he's playing up to that competition really well. We're going to segue, though. Indiana, their 11th game of the season, their final home game of the season. They're taking on the Wisconsin Badgers, who are fresh off their first Big Ten win of the year. Our Andrew Hillsman has the previews on the Badgers season so far.
It's been an odd year, to say the least, for Luke Fickell and the Wisconsin Badgers. After a 2-0 start, they ran into the injury bug at quarterback and dropped 6 straight games. But this past week, things took a better turn as they pulled off the upset of then-ranked Washington. Let's have a look at what the Badgers have to offer this Saturday. As a unit, Wisconsin's offense has only thrown 7 touchdowns to 10 picks on the year and has scored only 20 points over their last 4 games. Quarterbacks Carter Smith, Hunter Simmons, and Danny O'Neal have all split reps at the position, while Wisconsin is a run-heavy team, as Dylan Jones leads the way with 76 carries and 300 yards on the year, followed by Gideon Ituka, who's got 51 carries for 221 yards. On the receiving side, watch for wideout Vinny Anthony II and tight end Lance Mason to receive the most targets. Mason leads the Badgers in receiving touchdowns this year with 3, but neither of those 2 players have over 30 catches on the year. Defensively, things have been a little bit better, at least. Last week, the Badgers recovered a Washington fumble and intercepted DeMond Williams Jr. to help sneak away with the win, but there hasn't been a ton to write home about. Corner Ricardo Hallman has 2 interceptions to lead the team, and junior linebacker Christian Alliegro leads the Badgers in tackles with 44 total. There's really no way around the fact that this is a tough task for Washington. It's senior day in Bloomington, and they'll surely be walking into a loud crowd at Memorial Stadium. The game kicks off at noon on Saturday, airing on Big Ten Network.
The Wisconsin Badgers have a gauntlet of a schedule this year, just ranked team after ranked team. They had to play Ohio State. They had to play Oregon. This week, Indiana played Alabama in non-conference. The list goes on, and they've kind of, paid the consequences of it. They're 1-5 in Big Ten play, 3-6 on the season. But hey, they got their first ranked win since 2021, 13-10, kind of a sus victory over the Washington Huskies, a ranked team at the time. They stormed the field and everything. I don't know if things are trending up. I think it was a cold, gross, Big Ten West game, which Washington really couldn't handle the cold weather of Madison. This is going to be an interesting game, though, because the quarterback situation for Wisconsin is just all up in the air right now.
Yeah, it's tough on the offensive end. But, I want to talk about that schedule, right? Second hardest schedule nationally, ranked by FPI. You read out some of the teams, but read that. Since week 3, this team has played Alabama, Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon, and Washington. Now, Indiana. That is a grueling schedule. Something that, stands out as maybe the positive that this team can take from obviously a grueling season. The defense at times has looked strong. Wisconsin team prides itself on physicality and really being tough. And they've definitely shown glimpses of that. They play a bit of that 3-3-5 defense that Old Dominion played that kind of gave Indiana fits. Now, obviously, first game of the season, week 1, right? Indiana's still trying to get into shape. But I think that, Wisconsin's defense is going to be a good test for Indiana. It's on the offensive side where Coach Fickell's going to have to speak some riz into those players to get them going.
Yeah, losing Billy Edwards has been really detrimental for for the Wisconsin team. Only 13 touchdowns on the season, 6-7 in the ground and in the air, respectively. It's not been a good effort. They're bottom 100 in the country, I'm 130th in the country in points per game. Not maybe what you want to do. And I think what they need to do is they need to simplify the offense against this Indiana team. Get back to kind of the kindergarten basics of running, getting positive runs, getting ahead of the sticks, keeping whoever your starting quarterback is, because we know they have a lot of them, upright and healthy.
I do have some respect for the higher-ups over in the athletic department of Wisconsin for restoring confidence in keeping Luke Fickell with all of the coaching firings that have happened this season and kind of a disastrous season that Wisconsin's having. Some of it is out of Fickell's control because he hasn't had a starting quarterback. He brought in Billy Edwards Jr. from Maryland, a guy, had a great season last year, throwing to some good weapons like Ty Felton. He got hurt in the very first game of the season, tried to come back in his revenge game against Maryland, got dinged up again. Danny O'Neal, a Cathedral guy, Indiana representative, came in, was struggling at times, and then enter Hunter Simmons with 0-4. Danny O'Neal comes back in, gets carted off the field in a gruesome injury against Washington. And lastly, a true freshman, Carter Smith. No, not the left tackle for Indiana football, the quarterback, true freshman for Wisconsin. It's just all over the place. And I do kind of feel bad for Luke Fickell because that's just out of his control.
Yeah, the injury game, it's been brutal for this team. Going into the Wisconsin's matchup against Oregon just 2 weeks ago, the Badgers were missing 8 of the 22 expected starters in that game. It's exactly right. It's out of your control. When you got that many guys out, it's so difficult. We've talked about what it means to have 1-2 O-linemen out. If you got 8 of 22 starters out, that is just grueling, especially the quarterback, right? That guy that needs to take control of the offense. They're now on their 4th with Carter Smith, true freshman. It's just so tough for Wisconsin.
Now, they still technically are playing for their bowl lives. At 3-6 winning out would, allow that 13th game of the season, but they come into Memorial Stadium as 30.5-point underdogs. I don't know if Indiana has ever been favored that high in a Big Ten game ever. We thought the UCLA spread, the Michigan State spreads were high. This is ridiculous. It's trending that way. But the big thing for Indiana, it's senior day. A very veteran squad, like I mentioned earlier. And guys, I know there's a lot of names to name, but I think each of us have one name that we can pick that have made just a big impact on this 10-0 start. Thomas, I'll let you start.
Yeah, you're right, guys. There's so many to pick from. Elijah Surratt potentially could have been a Bolitnikoff winner if he didn't miss some games. Omar Cooper put his body in a flamingo position and scored the game winner for Indiana last week. But I want to hit on a guy on the offensive line. We don't give the O-line enough love sometimes, right, guys? I want to hit on Pat Coogan. The story talking about him coming into the season was championship pedigree. He's been to the big game before, went with Notre Dame last season, fell to the Buckeyes. bringing that leadership after losing a senior in Mike Kadick, who was the leader, the passionate guy of this team, bringing a guy in like Coogan, who was a leader and can get this offensive line all square. The great connection he has with Fernando Mendoza. He's a guy that is going to be tough to replace on the offensive line next season.
And he mentioned after the Iowa game when, things were looking a little dire at times, he rallied the troops when Mendoza took that big pop on the sideline. And he showed, he has the championship level experience. He's been to a national championship, started in that game for Notre Dame. The player I'm picking as a senior might be a little long shot here. I'm picking Lewis Moore. I think the impact he's made ever since transferring back. He was playing in the Tom Allen days. He saw some bad football, saw some bad teams, went to Ole Miss last season, decided to come back. Curt Cignetti brought him back. Everything he has gone through this year to perform at such a high level in a secondary that has so many weapons and different versatile guys. Lewis Moore is playing terrific ball this year.
Man, you put me in an awkward spot now. I got to choose between Elijah Surratt and Aiden Fisher.
Why not both?
I don't know how to do that. Yeah, why not both, right? All Big Ten guys. I will highlight Elijah Surratt, even though he hasn't played. The level this guy played at when he was healthy and when he was really killing it was unbelievable. Think specifically at Iowa and at Oregon. That was the most unbelievable stretch of ball that I've seen from a wide receiver this entire season in the Big Ten. Back-to-back games, 100-plus receiving yards, game-winning touchdowns in both of those. The Iowa one, unbelievable. That was the moment of the season until Omar Cooper said, I'll take that from you, right? So what he has done is unbelievable. Teams had to triple team him, and he still had 4 or 5 catches for 70 yards, like he did against Michigan State. But absolutely, Aiden Fisher, we got to talk about him as well because he's the leader. He is the voice of this team on offense and defense. You see it walking in to practice on summer when we were able to come watch a few practices. He was screaming at the top of his lungs, just taking control of the environment. There is no better leader on this team than Aiden Fisher.
Last thing really on the seniors and on the topic of Aiden Fisher is the core group, the group that transferred from James Madison, the Kalon Blacks, the Elijah Surratts, the Mikhail Kamaras, the Aiden Fishers, D'Angelo Pons as a junior, but those members on the defense right there, and I guess Kalon Black as a running back, how important have they been to this turnaround, Thomas?
Well, I think they're the ones who laid the groundwork. They're the team that think about if you can have a coach be with guys for 4 years. How often does that happen anymore? It's not a thing anymore. But Curt Cignetti was able to be with these guys for their tenure and to be able to establish it with no pressure at a James Madison, or at least not national spotlight pressure, and then to bring it to Indiana and have that switch already flipped. It's impressive stuff, and these guys have laid the groundwork.
I totally agree. They are the turnaround, right? The turnaround would not have happened without those guys from JMU, and I totally agree. Laid the groundwork, offense and defense, set the standard. Also, I think it kind of put into other players' heads that, hey, we're going with this guy, Curt Cignetti. We believe in what he can do as a head coach, and clearly that has happened. The belief has carried Indiana to this point.
One last name shout out because of how big of a season he had last year. Mikhail Kamara, yes, he hasn't put up the numbers, but this is still a guy that you look at the advanced metrics, he is wreaking havoc in backfields. He's lived up to that name, and he is I would say a big reason why this defensive line is playing at such a high level. And as we wrap up, the Indiana Hoosiers, they're eyeing their first ever 11-0 start in their program's history. They take on the Wisconsin Badgers. It's a noon kickoff here at Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium on Big Ten Network. Again, it's senior day, and I guess it semi-serves as our senior day. We are 3 seniors right now, and this will be our last time, covering a game here at Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium.
We'll be in here for a lot more shows.
As far as game coverage, it is probably, barring a home playoff game, our last time here. So, bittersweet in moments like that. We'll be back in 2 weeks, though. We're taking the bye week off. We're going to do a full streamed show prior to the Oak and Bucket game, the Purdue week. But until then, we're saying so long. For Graham Nash, Thomas Crow, our entire production crew, I'm Joe Cronin saying we'll see you next time.
Cooper got open and caught it. Touchdown, Indiana.
Going up the middle is Omar Cooper, and he'll walk into the end zone.
Complete at the 47. Surratt with no one one to beat.